UNICAT is one of the best universities in the world and a science-based university with a good reputation for both teaching and research. UNICAT understands that it has a responsibility to keep the environment safe for the next generation. Therefore, UNICAT wants to make sure that everyone has the same goal, which is to protect and improve the environment and lessen the negative effect of its work. UNICAT commits to the protection of the local, regional, and global environments by developing policies and procedures around the management of reducing waste sent to landfill, reducing the effect on local ecology and biodiversity, reducing the environmental and other effect of transport, reducing pollution, being responsible for the effect of college supply chain, initiate active community involvement, reducing energy consumption and carbon dioxide emission, and lastly, reducing water consumption. This environmental policy gives a general idea of what UNICAT'S wants to do when it comes to protecting the environment. This policy will be used to get certified to the International Standard Environmental Management System, ISO 14001. This policy will explain the goals and aim of UNICAT directors to employees, students, suppliers, and other people who might be interested. The purpose of this environmental policy is to assure students and employees of the UNICAT'S commitment to environmentally responsible management in an effective manner, minimize occurrence that may have a negative impact on the environment and for which UNICAT may be in violation for its legal obligation, reduce raw material and energy use, and contribute to the improvement of the environment for future generations. Lastly, it will maintain the UNICAT'S attractiveness as a place of study, research, business, sponsorship, and engagement with the government. It is UNICAT'S goal to make people more aware of the environmental issue through proper training for staff and estate management and the use of best practice in its work, looking for ways to teach students about the environment such as through academic programs and campus awareness events, making it easier for people to research sustainability, and lastly, staff and students will be encouraged to carry this out to their life outside UNICAT as well.
The first policy is to reduce waste sent to landfill. UNICAT is interested and actively involved in waste management that is responsible and sustainable. Second, UNICAT also emphasizes the critical nature of its positions in collaborating with its supply chain and other to assist in avoiding or minimizing waste generation as well as collaborating with waste collection agency. UNICAT is committed to best practice in waste reduction and management, including the effective and innovative integration of the policy across all departments and levels. To reduce waste sent to landfill, first, UNICAT's most sustainable and cost-effective method is to assist staff and students to avoiding waste in the first place. Next, UNICAT's goal is to set an example by continuing to work to reduce waste generated by our own building and activities, as well as to boost reuse and recycling rather than simply encourage students and staff to practice sustainable waste management. UNICAT will seek to collaborate with all departments in order to contribute to waste reduction efforts across the board. Next, UNICAT adheres to policy hierarchy that prioritize waste avoidance and reduction, followed by reuse, recycling, and composting, and finally by other methods of recovering value such as energy recovery from residual waste. Lastly, biodegradable garbage will be diverted from landfills as much as accordance with regulatory policy. The second policy is to reduce the effect on local ecology and biodiversity. First, UNICAT will support environmental preservation efforts and will continue to develop them in order to avoid environmental degradation. Second, further development and activities will take into account the environmental impact of their design and administration. UNICAT shall protect the environmental by abiding the law and regulations and where appropriate by establishing and adhering to voluntary control criteria. Third, UNICAT intends to develop and insist in its environmental goal and objective on a regular basis in order to make land advance in environmental preservation. Lastly, all urban workers will get environmental education to increase their environmental awareness. These policy targets are to encourage the use of land with low biodiversity, to encourage the use of land that has been previously built, thus avoiding the use of developing previously undeveloped sites. Third is to encourage the stakeholders to remediate the contaminated land and bring it up to development potentials. Fourth is to encourage the ecological enhancements. Five is to encourage ongoing maintenance of planting and other landscape areas, both natural and wild, and lastly, to ensure the protections of ecological features during the construction period.
The third policy is to reduce the environmental and other effects of transport. While transportation is not one of our key businesses, UNICAT is committed to mitigating the environmental and other consequences of personal mobility and delivery, including congestion. Travel on UNICAT business will be made only when absolutely necessary and will be made through public transportation. If this is not feasible, possibilities for sharing private transport will be considered. Vehicles acquired for UNICAT use will be selected based on the following criteria, which is fuel type, with an emphasis on renewable energy options, fuel consumption, life expectancy, and target fuel economy rating. All employees and students will be encouraged to drive as little as possible in private vehicles and to do so ethically, minimizing fuel use and sharing whenever possible. UNICAT will work to improve bicycle and cyclist facilities by evaluating them on a regular basis. In light of the potential for increased bicycle use, students and staff will be urged to prioritize walking or cycling. UNICAT will seek to understand the transport requirements of its users, staff and supply chain, and prepare targets to reduce the environmental influence of transport related to UNICAT activities. This process will include surveying the transport requirement of UNICAT users and related interests, recognizing the level of growth in transport and identifying the levels and methods of transport use, understanding the effect this has on various aspects on the environment, providing a database of the environmental burdens of transport use, providing solution for reducing the influence on the environment of the remaining transport requirement, providing a method for more prudent use of transport. The fourth policy is to reduce pollution. UNICAT commits to enhancing the quality of life for its staff, student and local community by maintaining a clean, safe and accessible natural, urban and rural environment, as well as to valuing and protecting the environment, conserving and enhancing its future generation, while ensuring that all new developments have a minimal negative impact on either the historic or natural environment. UNICAT will assist the local authority as required in reviewing and assessing the ambient air quality in areas adjacent to its facilities to ensure that the level of specific pollutants comply with the Environmental Quality Clean Air Regulation 2014 and the Environmental Quality Act 1974 and any authority action plan. UNICAT will guarantee that new development is safe and suitable for the purpose for which it is intended, as well as determining whether the land is suitable for development or may be made suitable by remedial action. UNICAT acknowledges its responsibilities to meet and or exceed its legal obligations to carefully control any material which are discharged to air, land, sewer or water course to protect human health and the environment, to take sensible precaution if any work is carried out on an asbestos-containing product, and to require developers to demonstrate that they use the best practicable means to keep noise to a minimum. No noisy work will normally be permitted on Sundays and public holidays. For operation outside of these hours, demonstration that the works cannot be carried out at any other time and that items of plant and equipment are operated and maintained so that their use causes the minimum amount of noise will be required.
The fifth policy is being responsible for the effect of college supply chain. UNICAT will compel its supplier and contractors to assess and monitor the environmental impact of their business operation. UNICAT suppliers will be obligated to manage their environmental impact actively, which includes adhering to local environmental laws and establishing an environmental policy or statement. UNICAT will require all suppliers and contractors to enhance their environmental performance. UNICAT shall take steps to ensure that suppliers' employees are not required to work unreasonable hours or without adequate vacation time, and that a policy is in place to prevent work-related accidents and injuries by minimizing hazards in the workplace and providing regular health and safety training. UNICAT also will work with suppliers that have an appropriate minimum age requirement for employees. UNICAT will seek to understand the supply chain of its direct staff and partners and prepare targets to improve its environmental and social influence in activities related to UNICAT. The process will include understanding the supply chain of UNICAT, its users and related partners, and recognizing the level of growth in UNICAT activity. Also, reviewing the policy regularly to ensure its continued relevance. Next, understanding the effect this has on various aspects of the environment. providing a database of the effects of the UNICAT supply chain locally and national or internationally. Lastly, providing an implementation plan to ensure compliance with the resulting policy. The sixth policy is initiate active community involvement. The college recognizes that community involvement is people's right. This involvement can overcome alienation, makes the community stronger in itself, and optimizes the effectiveness of service and resources. It also can help join up different contributions to development and help sustainability. UNICAT community involvement targets are consider consultation and awareness-raising activities such as community newspapers, fun days, information fairs, and community conference, as well as direct contact with service users and community groups. Also, increase community capacity by training, including training of community representative and professional officers, and the supply of housing for community groups to utilize as a base. Community involvement in project management occurs in a variety of ways, including through membership on communities and board, employment of local residents, and direct community control of project and services. Also, increased participation, for example, through the use of newsletter and other forms of communication.
The seventh policy is to reduce energy consumption and carbon dioxide emission. UNICAT aspires to be the top academic institution in Malaysia for applied energy efficiency and utility management, exhibiting responsible environmental governance and global citizenship, and offering a showcase low-carbon historic estate. This will be accomplished through energy management, which includes the development and implementation of an energy management strategy, as well as the establishment of clearly defined objectives, targets, responsibilities, and operating principles, as well as the efficient management of energy throughout the estate. Energy efficient design includes energy standards, monitoring and targeting systems, estate optimization, and best practices in new construction, implementation of people solutions such as energy education, and the establishment of a culture of energy awareness and accountability, procurement that incorporates low or renewable energy and carbon reduction into energy purchasing and generation, as well as equipment and material purchases. The energy management strategy for UNICAT will be reviewed and revised on a yearly basis. UNICAT will exceed the requirements of environmental legislation and advisory codes of practice where practicable environmental benefit can be demonstrated, and to achieve the following basic strategy, such as reducing the unit cost of energy and the number of energy units used, using green energy from suitably certified providers, and set a baseline for CO2 emissions, reduce CO2 emissions progressively to meet the requirements of the carbon reduction commitment and in accordance with the UNICAT carbon management plan, to provide a metering strategy across UNICAT which allows monitoring of energy consumption to the required detail and accuracy, to apply regular comparison of building performance against published benchmarks, and to ensure new development, upgrades, and refurbishment are carried out to UNICAT policies, specifications, and briefing documentation. The eighth policy is to reduce water consumption. The environmental effect of water use is becoming a major concern for the sector. A realistic approach to addressing it, and so mitigating climate change and reducing water usage, entails establishing best practices and attainable targets. The targets have been chosen to preserve design freedom and flexibility while attempting to reduce overall water use while providing an excellent level of service. While efficient water systems will help UNICAT to conserve water, it is the students and staff's behavior that will have the greatest impact. Thus, education of the occupants will be critical in reducing water use. UNICAT will monitor water use on a regular basis through frequent meter readings, enabling a prompt response to any leaks in the system prior to damage, excessive use, and expenditure. Overnight leak testing performed by taking meter readings prior to and following a period of non-occupancy will identify any leaks or overflows in the building. All water systems will be specified and designed in such a way that management employees may monitor them remotely if necessary. UNICAT will exceed the requirement of environmental legislation and advisory codes of practice where practicable and environmental benefit can be demonstrated and achieved. UNICAT has therefore set the following targets for its operation, but it set a progressive target for water consumption, to provide a water metering strategy across UNICAT which allows monitoring of water consumption to the required detail and accuracy, to apply regular comparison of building performance against published benchmarks, and to ensure new development, upgrades, and refurbishments are carried out to UNICAT policy, specifications, and briefing documentation. That is all from us. Thank you.